You're listening to another episode of Mr. Allard's Neighborhood. This is the place where you're entitled to Brad's opinion. And now for your host, Brad Allard.
Well, hello everybody. I'm here with two legends of the Burleson business community, Sammy Joe Campbell, Kandy Gal, and they're starting their new venture this week, a new mortgage venture. And we're going to talk about that, and we're going to talk about the rates. We're going to talk about real estate. Also, we're going to talk about the amendment elections. You want to talk about Proposition 4, and I'll talk about Proposition 9, which is about the teachers. You know, as poor, bedraggled, retired teachers. Oh, well, you know, of course.
We love our teachers.
Yeah, well, your sister works for the district, and she's very helpful. Michaela helps me out quite a bit with the BISD interviews. I got one in about 3 weeks, and she usually tells me about 10 days ahead of time who it's going to be, and it's worked out really well. So anyway, I'm really interested to hear about the rates in particular, because I read that we're at a 20-year high, and the Fed is like consulting their magic 8 ball, whether they're going to raise them again and all this other business, and it's kind of a beating, actually. I'm sure it is a beating for y'all, you know, particularly since y'all probably have to monitor the rates, not just on a daily basis, but what, every 10 minutes or something like that? Yeah, just the minute changes in the interest rate makes a lot of difference. But anyway, I'm looking forward to hearing about the new venture, though. Anyway, so let's run through the first round of ads here, because they make all this possible. CrossFit Burleson, 317 Southwest Wilshire. Check out their webpage for all the programs, the plans, the classes, the trainers. It's a well-supervised environment, so you can get some professional training and some professional supervision, so you won't be by yourself there. 317 Southwest Wilshire. Shandy Stogsdill, which I bet y'all know, she's doing okay. I talked to her some. You know, she's really as much a family friend as a former student and all that. She and her children have been in her home a few times, and you know, she says the Burleson real estate market is holding in steady, but it's not as hot as it was, say, 2 years ago. Is that about y'all's view of it?
Correct.
Yeah, so that makes a big difference, huh? Yeah, and so, but she's making some closings, and that's the important thing. But thank you, Shandy. So if you're looking to move in and around the area, that's who you talk to. Also, Otto at our place. Now, you've been there, I bet. You know, everybody knows Otto, and everybody knows our place. I mean, everybody's like, oh, I've never been there before. Like, you've been living in a cave? You know, everybody goes there.
Very good food.
And great service. Yeah. That's what I like about it. It's a very comfortable place, because I walk in and I recognize the staff, and they recognize me, and I'm not there every day, but I'm there enough, and it's kind of hometown. Mm-hmm. You know, and Sam, you've been here. You graduated from Burleson, so you remember hometown Burleson, right?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. We were just talking about that the other day with what are the things that we miss from when we were younger. I mean, you graduated. Well, I'm not going to tell you when you graduated. That's it. You graduated from BHS, all right? And so we'll leave it at that. But you remember some of the places we miss and all that. And sometimes we miss these kind of places. Mm-hmm. I'm glad that Otto's still dishing it out. Yep. Also, Chris Notaboom over at Wild Cigar, he and his friend Nathan Siegel got the thing going on over there. Get you a decent smoke. Does your husband smoke cigars? Mm-mm. Well, he should try anyway. Yeah. Well, also, it's Christmas season coming up. I know it's late October, but I was just, before I got here, went into a Walmart for some quick thing, and the decorations are already up. Now, your children are grown now, right? Mm-hmm. So I bet you remember, it's a small children and all this. And
hey, we're expecting. My daughter is expecting in January.
That's amazing that you're going to be a grandmother. Yes. I mean, it's amazing. Mm-hmm. It's not. I mean, I think about it, that when I think about people that I, taught or went to school with or whatever, part of the BHS family, and now they're grandparents, I'm like, my God, my back hurts, Anyway, Wild Cigar over at the Standard, they got a lot going on. Now at the Rangers in the World Series, they're going to have specials. They're going to have drink specials and smoke specials, and they're going to have the TVs on. It's going to be a lot of fun. A really good place to watch the game, because it's not a rowdy joint, with all these TVs shouting at you. So you'll be able to watch the game in a little bit of peace. And it's a big deal. Mm-hmm. Also, our friend Tiffany Nico over at the Local Life, the new issue should be out a week from Friday, roughly. I'm not sure what the content will be, but it's always good. They got great stories. They got great advertisements, because it goes to 30,000 homes and a lot of businesses. I was at Ottawa's place last week, and they had some on the counter. So a lot of people see these other than just the people get from direct mail. So there you go. Also, Burleson Buzz is a local blog, if you will, a news blog. It comes out on Tuesdays, and it also has like updates on Fridays. And Cody O'Brien will be on the show in about a month to talk about his venture. It's really cheap to subscribe, and it's also a good way to keep up with city council business and school business and the football scores and, whatever news happens in Burleson. It's trying to take the place of a weekly newspaper, the Burleson Star, the late lamented Burleson Star. You know what I miss about the Burleson Star the most? What we would do in school is it came out on like 2-3 times a week, and the Thursday one had the arrest reports, and we go in and put it on Friday, put it down in the library. Say, oh, I know that one, and that kind of stuff. Oh, I had no doubt, I could see it coming, that kind of stuff, that teachers can, it's our way of getting back. Right. All righty. Taylor, will you put up their logo, please? This is the new company, Camco. I assume based on your last name, but there you go. Mm-hmm. Okay. But this is your first company for you. I know you worked for others. You like I've told Kandy before on this show, and when talked about during the advertisements, y'all done it for my house twice. And but you this is your first time for your venture, right?
Correct. What
motivated you for that?
Wow. How long do we have?
Okay. But at least an hour. So.
I don't want to say this.
Careful.
Yeah, I have to be careful. And I don't mean anything ill intent. Anything that I'm going to say, it's not with negative intentions. Mm-hmm. I've taken experiences that have happened throughout my mortgage career, and out has popped Camco Mortgage, basically, is what's happened. Some have been good experiences, some haven't been good experiences.
But they're all learning experiences.
They have all been learning experiences and growing. And I'm very, very excited about this new venture, and, to have Kandy along with me for the ride. And my son is a loan officer for us as well.
Okay, you mentioned you had a third partner in this, and I didn't ask who that was, but
yeah.
Okay. Well, I relate this to my friend who is in the banking industry, I was telling you about before, and this guy, is highly respected in his field, but he's working for his 17th bank.
Yeah.
He's about my age. We went to college together, but it's like there's so much instability in this industry, banking and financing and mortgage and all this, so many combinations, and this one buying out and this one being bought out and this one, on and on and on.
Well, and where we are in our environment right now, we're seeing a lot more hopping. Companies are going out of business. They're making decisions that have impacts to their employees, whether it be their operations or their loan officers. And that's really where we found ourselves the most recent. Like the company that we were at, I don't have anything bad to say about them. Great company. They had to make some management decisions that didn't fit for what I needed. And so, again.
So you left U Mortgage on good terms, in other words?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Yeah, good people.
Well, that's not uncommon. I mean, I have a couple of friends that are in the finance and insurance industries, and it just, particularly in the post-COVID era, and this, I don't know what you call Bidenomics era, whatever you want to call it, it's just been crazy, and the interest rates are playing havoc with y'all's industry in particular. And in a couple of minutes, I want to ask about how that's playing out. But Kandy, how long have y'all worked together?
Since 2007.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, Sammy hired me back in the day.
Did you know her prior to that? And so she just comes in and for a job interview, and you said, this is the one.
From what kind of?
It was Craigslist.
Craigslist.
Well, I remember your first office was in that B&G complex, right? And you had an office overlooking the highway and all that. Now you're in the same complex, but you're in the third floor of that standalone building. And so you've been part of the Burleson area, even if you haven't had the same company, you've had the same business presence, shall we say.
Right.
So course, when you're starting your own, there's got to be certain trepidation involved, shall we say? Are you concerned, so to speak?
I'm not.
Good.
What this is allowing me is to be more nimble in a time where we really need to be, with where rates are. It's not just rates. Like there's a lot of different things that impact a mortgage payment, impact your loan, and interest rates are just one of them. But it does give me more wiggle room to, not, there's margins involved in mortgages where rates are associated with those margins. And my margins don't need to be as high as a big company that has a lot of overhead. So we're more nimble.
Do y'all do the same duties, or do y'all have a division of labor kind of thing?
She has more duties than I do.
Oh, how's that?
She's she's the president of the company.
Well.
So she has more. But as far as both originating, we both originate and help people with financing. So
now, you mortgage, you were basically in a position where you were choosing from a bunch of mortgage companies, right? Is this the same thing?
Yes.
Okay, so it's not so much you're providing the financing, but you're accessing all these other companies.
Yeah.
Right. But what's different is I get to choose those companies. And I like that creative outside of the box thinking. And so I'm able to seek out investors that we can send our loans to that also like that creative outside of the box thinking.
Even outside of your traditional financial
Correct.
institutions, like
outside of your normal FHA, VA, conventional USDA, you have there's bank statement loans. There's all kinds of alternate type of financing options out there. Home equity lines of credit. You can do those in Texas. There's not a lot of lenders that will allow for it. But you can do them, and we can do them.
It wasn't always allowed. I remember when they came in I guess it was the late 90s, early 2000s, and it was a big deal because there are a lot of people that want to access the equity in their home instead of going to like a traditional borrowing situation. But it sounds like, it doesn't even have to be a financial institution. It could be a company that's looking to buy houses to rent and whatnot. You can access them or get in contact with them, or they can get in contact with you. Does that happen often? Because I read about that a lot, about these major corporations, some of them foreign owned, that are buying huge numbers of homes and putting them out of the market and for sale and putting them under rent. Y'all deal with that?
People who are wanting to buy houses to rent them out under company names. A lot of what you're talking about, these are people that are they're paying cash. It's investment portfolios that are really purchasing those homes, and they don't really need the financing like what we do, but we can do those. Yeah.
Well, like when my daughter was selling her house, I'm getting all confused. During the summertime, the first offer they had was cash. It wasn't as much as they wanted, but it was straight up cash, and they were going to put it under rent. And that I read in the local papers, and I read in Wall Street Journal and others, things like that because of that, it's getting more and more difficult to find buyable homes, because the ones that people can't afford are being bought up, like acreage at a time, tons of them at one time. So that's well, what about the Burleson market? How is that doing?
Do you want me to speak to that?
Well, you both can.
I think what I have seen is it's not so much a lack of people wanting to purchase. People, I think, still want to purchase. What has been holding people back is where interest rates are and how much more expensive it is to purchase. Our frame of mind to buy a house that's $350,000 or $400,000, People aren't wanting a $3,500 to $4,000 payment to go along with it, but that's almost the rule of thumb right now. It's that old rule of thumb. When I first got into the mortgage business, the rule of thumb is you could assume that if you're putting the minimal amount down, I'm not talking about people that are putting 20% down, but those that are putting 3%, 3.5%, 5% down, the rule of thumb is 1% of that loan amount is going to be what your payment is going to be. So most people are wanting a payment that it's $1,500 to $2,000.
Good luck.
You're not finding $150,000 to $200,000 homes.
No.
Now, when I first got in the business, you could. I mean, that was normal, but that's not where home prices are now.
No, I was looking with my daughter 2 or 3 years ago, and anything under 200 was one of those flipper houses, or do-it-yourselves or whatever, and or it was just in a terrible, terrible condition. And I remember one in Cleveland we looked at. It was an old Victorian home, and it's $188,000. And my daughter's really excited because she thought, well, this would be 2 stories, old-fashioned home, whatever. I said, that's got to be a dump. And went over there, and the guy trying to unload it said, well, it needs a new air conditioning, and it needs new plumbing, and it needs a new roof, and probably some work on the driveway, and a new washer and dryer. But other than that, you're good to go. Sure you are. It'd been $100,000 or more to get Chip and JoJo come fix it up. Be
a money pit. Yeah.
You watch those shows, by the way, those home flipper shows.
So I was flipping before that was a cool thing to do. So my husband and I have been flipping homes since 2001. We love it. It's fun. But not everybody needs to be out there doing it.
Well, and it's stressful. And of course, an old Burleson graduate, Jennifer Marsh, was her maiden name. Jennifer Todrick now has her own show. She does redesign. And it's kind of neat. Somebody from school there. She's on TV.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's on HGTV. No demo, or redo, or something like that. Until she comes on the show, though, will she have really made it? That's all I say. But it's on the same channel as HGTV, which is on. But it's not on that. It's on Hallmark in our house, so whatever. But as far as the homes in Burleson, we looked at some in Burleson, and the ones that were the most acceptable, the least expensive one, was like $280, and it was like 1,300 square feet, 3-bedroom, and bedrooms being generous. In terms of size. The neighborhoods are fine because we don't really have in Burleson like an area town that you avoid geographically or real estate wise. It isn't like a bigger city. So the neighborhoods are all fine, but it was just any house that was even remotely affordable had significant problems. And does that affect the rates and the lending and all this?
It does. I wouldn't say the rate as much, but it does affect the type of loan. Any home that has major issues, so a major issue is going to be foundation, that's going to be roof and HVAC. If those issues exist, then they have to be corrected prior to closing, or we have to do a loan that allows for that to be done after closing, which we do have. So I've tried to make us a one-stop shop for any type of financing that's needed.
Well, I just remember these houses, a lot of them had foundation problems, which I understand in Texas is quite common, but, you'd see cracks in the wall and things of that nature. And then the second most common thing, if just by a small margin, would be the roofs, always in need of repair or something like that. And it wasn't just in Burleson. I mean, they looked in Crowley, they looked in Fort Worth, they looked in Keene, and they almost bought in Keene. You live in Keene, don't you?
I do.
Yeah, it's that party town there, isn't it? I can't imagine.
It's very quiet.
I can't imagine living in Keene.
I think it's 2 red lights.
I can't. Keene, nice people, I'm sure, but it just, my goodness.
Well, you know what? You'll be surprised because I think it's moving out that way. There's newer additions opening up out there, and it's going to be growing. There's not enough room around here, so they're moving.
Well, I guess so.
Moving south.
Yeah. Well, it's like Grandview. When I moved here, Godley, Grandview, those towns are hardly anything. Even Joshua was pretty small.
Right.
and now they're just booming. And y'all don't just service Burleson, you service this whole area, right?
All of Texas.
All of Texas.
All of Texas. Do you have to be certified in Texas, or can you go like do Oklahoma loans or Louisiana loans, or do you have to go through their process to get certified?
Each state you have to be licensed in.
Quite a beating, But anyway, all of Texas, do you have a lot of out of town customers?
I think we do. Mm-hmm. We have our fair share. I did one in Allard, Texas.
How did they get a hold of you?
It was a referral from someone that I did in Alvarado.
Okay.
It was a relative of theirs, and they, it was a very good loan, and then they referred me to their relative up in Allard.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so you didn't have to travel up there, did you?
I did not.
Okay.
No, but I wanted to meet them. You like to put a face with the name, with the voice and everything. But yeah, very nice couple.
Is it different doing business in Allard than here, or is that the same?
No, it's the same. The only thing I would say is you want to make sure you have appraisers. But the way we are now, we'll have appraisers everywhere.
I know appraisals. I remember a couple of times. I think the second time we were doing it with y'all, our appraisal came in shorter than what I needed, and I think you got on the phone and gave them a piece of your mind. Yeah. You have to do that very often.
No, we really haven't had to fight for value too much. House prices have gone up so much that the value hasn't really been a problem. Not like, that's been quite a few years ago that with the appraisal you're talking about.
Okay, so lead me through this, okay? Who contacts you? Is it the buyer or the real estate agent or either one? Both, okay. So let's say, I'm going to buy a house, and I or my agent will come to you. Lead me through the process. What happens?
We will have a conversation with the buyer / borrower. Typically, so I'll tell you the way that I do things, which is different than how other loan officers. There's not one right way to do it. So for me, I typically like to have a conversation with the borrower. I typically like to take an application over the phone with the borrower because I can learn more about that borrower's wants and their needs through that conversation. The more common way to do it these days, though, is to just have them fill out an online application.
Right.
It's just fill in the blank, but you don't learn as much about them that way. I'm open to meeting them where they are, though. I don't want to force them to have a conversation with an application by phone. So I do whatever is going to be more convenient for them.
You do have a physical location, so you can do it there.
Yeah, but just like what Kandy was saying, we lend all over the state of Texas. We're doing loans for people in Dallas or in the Austin area. So it's not as easy for them just to, pop into our office. And people like the convenience of online.
Yeah.
So what I've done more is the virtual meetings.
I remember Countrywide was back in the day was the first one to really emphasize that. And I got Quicken and Rocket Mortgage and all that. But as far as what does the buyer need to have? You probably have to have his financials in order. You probably need how many months of income does he have to verify?
The standard documents that I ask for, and we don't always need all of them, but I try to go for getting as much as I can up front. So if I need it later, I already have it, and I'm not having to bug the borrower for something again. So standard docs are going to be driver's license, 30 days worth of pay stubs, 2 years worth of tax returns, 2 months worth of bank statements for any assets to be used for closing or reserves.
I somehow I remember in our process you also needed like the plat of the property or whatever, but maybe who knows what, it's been a while. So,
for a purchase, we would need to have a survey of the property.
Oops, my phone's, I've been doing this a long time and I still forget to do that. There you go. Because I'm trying to share it with various people. Go ahead. I'm sorry to interrupt.
Surveys is, I think, what you're referring to.
Right.
And yes, you typically do need a survey.
And then the dreaded appraisal. It's Robin really, my wife really dreaded that because it's not so much he was going to be too low, but he's going to find little bitty details, and that's a penalty right there. You didn't clean the leaves out of your gutters or whatever. And she's, it's like I had to do a lot of work just to, get the house decent for the appraiser. So,
and I think a lot of people think that way, but it's not a full inspection. So if something pops out to an appraiser, well, say for FHA, he or she will make a notation on the report, but it's got to be something that's really popping out. It's not something that, they're going to go in and inspect gutters, or they'll look probably up in the attic and take a picture.
Yeah. Well, anyway, it was kind of a process, and it also has been shortened quite a bit. What's a typical length of time for? I walk in your door today. How soon will all this be done? And we're signing that mountain of papers we go through, getting handwriters cramp.
Well, we'll touch on that because that's also different. But
okay.
A normal contract is 30 days, but we can do closings in 3 weeks or less. I mean, what was that?
I think I had one in 9 days.
Yeah.
9 days.
Yeah, 9 days.
Really, but everyone has to play nice. Like borrowers have to be responsive, appraisers have to be right on it, working with title, they have to be on it. So if everyone on the team's playing nice together, we can get it done really, really quickly.
Well, that's nice to know, because sometimes I remember the first time I did it in this late 90s again. I think it was with Countrywide. It seemed to take forever because I was like, oh, we need this piece of paper or that piece of paper. Oh, we lost it. Can you send us another one? And it was like almost like 2.5 months. And, where the clock is ticking, it's like one more month of payment of that higher rate than you wanted to pay, and it's like it's costing me time and money, bro. Let's get this together. Yeah.
Well, and that's something that dealing with us, we're the point of contact. So we're not one of these big banks that you don't know if the person you talked to last week is still there.
Right.
So I give out my cell number and they can reach me.
Oh, I've been yelling your cell number over the show.
Yay.
So yeah.
So, I mean, we're a little bit different than these we're a lot different than these big banks. I mean, we've had people that worked for Wells Fargo and Bank of America come to us for loans.
Really?
Yes.
Well, at least I bet you don't have to educate them quite as much.
Well, it depends on what department they were in. But because those bigger banks, they do take longer, too.
Yes, they do. Well, I'm going to run through the second round. Some of our B&I friends are here and on this round of ads, including Southern Jim. You know about her big deal.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thursday.
Have you been in there before?
It's beautiful.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I know you went and looked at that space she's having.
No, I looked at the jewelry. It's beautiful.
Yeah. But also it's designs and repairs. And she's asked me to promote 2 different things. One is if you have repairs coming, or you want them for Christmas Day or refurbished or redesigned, you better get moving because those slots fill up right before Christmas. She's giving away this ring on Thursday. They're having their grand opening, champagne opening again. Well, they've been open for a little while, but they want to have official kickoff to the season grand opening, and so they're giving away this ring, and it's $1 per ticket on the raffle tickets, and all the money goes to Hughley Cancer Center, and you can buy as many tickets as you got in your wallet, so you can buy 100 if you want.
I plan to do that.
Yeah, yeah, and Robin is helping plan all this. My wife works there. I don't know if. Well, you probably met her there.
She was there.
Okay. Anyway, they got a real big deal going on, and they're going to have little gift bags. And, Gayla likes to host this kind of things. This is the raffle. Here, you won't see it on Apple or Spotify, but you can see it on the show here, doing their little raffle tickets, and then there's the sign telling all about it. It's an all-day thing. They're actually going to be open a little later. They usually close it at 5. They're going to stay up to 7 on Thursday.
Oh, look at that ring.
Yeah, it's
That's
very
gorgeous.
Nice. Robin has shown it to me, how many raffle tickets. Of course, we can't win, but still, it's a big deal.
Oh.
It's a big deal. And Gayla is very Southern. That's hence the name. So she's going to, she likes playing the hostess. And she has pictures with the Queen. And if you don't know what that means, she has a cutout of Queen Elizabeth. She's a big Queen Elizabeth fan. And so you can have pictures made with the Queen.
She's got corgis.
And corgis, yes. And what I like about her place the most as a man is that she has a bullpen to park us in, and to watch the ball game or the golf or whatever's on, the news, and then she'll have a Dr. Pepper or she'll have a little glass of wine while the wife is spending the college money. Anyway, but it's a really good place. Old Pro Roofing. Burleson Company. John Williams is their rep here, 817-734-2756. Another BNI friend like Gala. He's a pretty nice guy. And
he is very reputable too.
Yeah.
I mean, I had him go out and look at a roof on a house that someone was purchasing. Very honest. He said it's in good shape. They don't need anything. So.
He said that about my roof, and no upsell, no doom and gloom projections if you don't get it fixed today. So it's Old Pro is run by good people. And so 817-734-2756. Also another BNI friend, Dee Dee Simpson over at Thrive. She's at 520-955-7860. And what she does there is a full business suite, email and communications with customers and promotions and a website and, billing and the whole thing. I mean, what you need in a business, she can help you. If you have a small business, she can help you kind of consolidate all the various programs and help you with that. And she's very good at training you through it, because a lot of us are technologically inept, and she has a lot of patience, I guess. And some of us are BNI user. I mean, so we can recommend her. Also, another live wire, Lisa Smith. Isn't she a beauty though?
She is.
She really is. I consider her to be like the emotional heart of our little group, And Greg kind of keeps us out of the ditches.
Yeah.
Greg
She's
Williams.
a cheerleader though.
Yeah.
She's been doing some little cheerleading activities up there.
Well, she and her husband are very reputable people, and they can help you with your home if it's been damaged in a storm. Or one thing that she's been stressing is things that happen to your home may not be a catastrophic storm or water damage or fire damage. You may be getting a leak in your hot water heater or behind the shower wall, and it's causing mold damage. And they are certified mold specialists, and not everybody can say that. Not many people can say that. It isn't just saying just going to Lowe's and getting something you can put on it. That might be a stopgap, but it won't get rid of it. You need somebody like her to take a look. And so Lisa and Moore Smith are good people at Stop Restoration. Where they get it right when?
The first time.
There you go, see? All right. And then there y'all are. Okay, so why don't y'all give y'all's contact information? You go first, Sammy.
Phone number 817-778-4592. Email Sammy, SAM1M, at camcomtg.com.
There you go.
And mine, Kandy, is phone number is 817-925-2661. Email is Kandy with a K, Kandy at camcomtg.com.
Okay, and people can access this on Facebook and Facebook and rather YouTube for that. But we'll be putting that up there, and we'll be shouting out the numbers. And definitely, I suppose there's also one thing that we kind of move into. You want to talk about some of the propositions for going on with the Texas Constitution, which is always a mess. But I'm also pushing to help get this bond passed in Joshua because, as a lot of us know, a lot of Burleson residents go to Joshua schools. I always thought that was confusing to me that Burleson could go all the way down to Mountain Valley, but they're all in Joshua schools. But there's, with all that development going on, Chisholm Trail and whatnot, which I'm sure will be good for y'all, that they're all going to be in Joshua schools. And they desperately need this bond to pass. But, there's the usual cranks and people that don't, 40 in the class is acceptable and that kind of rot. But the Joshua SD bond is the voting day is November 7th, but early voting has already started, and Rob and I voted yesterday. I'm sure there's a couple of those propositions that affect y'all directly. You want to talk about those? Proposition 4.
4.
Yeah, 4 primarily.
It's just good for every homeowner who has a homestead exemption because voting in favor of that is going to reduce the ISD. I believe it's the ISD tax.
It is.
Allow for an exemption up to $100,000 versus it being at $40,000. So where it helps, and it's not so much that it helps us, but it does help lower the borrower's payment.
Well, and that's what I'm hoping
in
will
there
help you all
so
directly.
so that that 1% rule that I mentioned, maybe it's not quite 1% if we don't have to, calculate as much in for property taxes.
Well, a lot of times when I have like city council people here, one thing they talk about, what they hear about, are taxes. Property taxes, particularly those within Burleson City and Johnson County and Burleson ISD. But that, the rates have been dropping. The city council has cut the rates, but because of our values are rising, we're not seeing any savings. In fact, we're paying more, right? I don't get all worked up and resentful about that because, I know that, the number one reason we have these property values rising and doing well is because of our schools and because we have good police. Shandy tells me that's what the people that talk to her about moving this area, that's what they want to see. How good are the schools? How safe is the community? And because we're doing pretty decently in those things, people want to move here. And so it doesn't matter if they cut the rates, like they did about 2 months ago at the city council, the values keep rising. Mechanically, how's this going to work? It's going to pass. I mean, there's no question. You tell somebody you're going to be saving some money, and we're not talking about $5 either. We're talking about some real folded money, particularly if it's a large house or a large community or property. How mechanically is this going to work? I understand this is going to be retroactive to January 1st of this year, not implemented January 1st of next year. So basically, they're going to have to reconfigure your escrow or whatever.
It's going to be a mess.
Yeah.
It's going to be a mess. What I'd say first, though, is for anybody that's listening or listens to this, if they haven't filed for their homestead exemption, that's the only way you're going to get to benefit from this. And there's a lot of people that, they buy their houses and they buy their home, and they get caught up in moving and decorating. And, most title companies tell you at the closing table that you have to file for your home exemption to get that exemption. Most of them will provide an application for it, but a lot of times people don't do it for those reasons I mentioned.
And you'll check on it because Kandy did that for me about a month ago just as a courtesy. I was pretty sure. I mean, I haven't moved in 32 years. I was pretty sure I had filed for homestead exemption way back in the day. But she looked just in case, and I'm good to go, right?
Yes,
so,
yeah, you're good.
Yeah, so that's a little reassuring. But mechanically, how are they going to get this money back? Is it my understanding is that when they reconfigure escrow, there's going to be an overage, and you'll make a choice.
Right.
But that's going to be hard to do.
Usually at February, somewhere around the early part of the following year after taxes have been, they're due and payable. So usually around February of that following year, there's an escrow analysis done. Now, not every lender or servicing company does it exactly the same way. So I'm just speaking general here. So they do an escrow analysis, and if you have too much in your account, they will send you a check back. You don't really have a choice.
Really, you can't just apply it to the principal, which I'm going to take the money, but what if I don't need it? Can I apply it to the principal?
Some servicers may give you that option. Normally what I've seen is they send you a check in the mail, and then if you want to apply it to your principal, you deposit the check, and then you just write a check to principal.
Right.
The opposite of that is if your escrow account is short because, tax property values have gone up so much. If you have a shortage, then they'll increase your payment to cover that. Or they do give you the option to pay the shortage, in one lump sum.
Fortunately, that hasn't happened to me yet, but it not under this current one I have, but that happened to us in the 90s. And for whatever reason, and we had to start paying like an extra $60 a month or whatever. And it's like, but I've talked to other people whose escrow must have been very short or something because they're paying like a couple $100 more a month, and it's a problem. But
we see that a lot on new construction too, because the property taxes with the county are unimproved, and then when the house is put on there, they're improved. You don't really know what the property taxes are going to be, so.
Oh, really? I hadn't even thought about that. As far as those who have paid off their house, how would they be taken care of? if they don't have an escrow to deal with or a lender to deal with?
Then they just pay their whatever the tax bill is.
Well, I mean, how are they going to get the refund for 2023?
I'm going to assume the county's going to issue checks or maybe credits on the account. I'm not really
I've
sure
heard
on that.
and I don't think anybody is. To tell you the truth, I've asked 2 or 3 people, and I've gotten round about the same answers, but that has not been made very clear.
If homeowners, if I didn't have a mortgage, I wish I didn't have a mortgage, but I do. If I didn't have a mortgage, I wouldn't be paying my property tax bill. It's not late until January 31, however many days are in January. So I would wait until this vote takes place and we know exactly where it's going to be, and then just pay what the real bill is.
Well, my parents live in a home that's paid for. They don't have a mortgage, and they asked me this question. I was talking to my mother yesterday. She says, "What do you do on the show?" I told her, y'all were coming, and she goes, well, ask that question. And because even the people they deal with, they're tax people or whatnot, they're not quite clear. I think basically the politicians in Austin said, we'll do this and y'all handle the details, and we get the credit and you get the work and that kind of thing.
When it first came out, I did call the county, Johnson County, and I asked them about it, and they mentioned that they were going to be sending checks. But again, that was in the very beginning. That may have changed by now.
And it's going to be per county, I would imagine. I don't know if they're all going to do things the same way.
And since you deal with all 254 counties in the state, you're going to have to be kind of nimble, like you said.
And, some people that are in Johnson County, they're paying to both Johnson and Tarrant counties.
Here's something that also our friend Melissa at BNI talks about: the insurance situation, not good in Texas. Does that affect y'all?
Oh,
yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
I've spent the last two days. I have 3 different borrowers that were looking for insurance, and the premiums have gone up so much. Some of the insurance companies aren't writing at all. Some of them are only limited to a couple of policies per month that they can issue.
That's what happens to Melissa. She got cut way back. She was issuing so many per month, and he said, no, you're going to limit you to 7. And I'm thinking, that's taking money right out of her pocket.
Yeah.
So.
But people that I would estimate property taxes, and, Kandy does things similar to the way that I do, estimating, just budgeting $150 a month for homeowners insurance. That's an $1,800 a year policy. It's hard. It's hard to get that, especially if it's an older home. If there's any risk whatsoever that it might need a roof replaced, like these insurance companies are, the premiums, I was looking at one yesterday, quoted $3,200, $3,800.
Well, I bought some from Melissa Harmon over at Texas Farm Bureau. And I've had several people sit in your seat saying they were the best ones to deal with for getting claims done and not getting hassled and, and not dragging their feet and all this other stuff. And apparently because State Farm and a couple others were kind of pulling out of the market. I know State Farm pulled out of California. I don't know if they pulled out here. I don't know if they have, but I know a lot of companies, like you say, are limiting how much they're exposing themselves to. She says she's having to turn people down that can't get insurance, and there's nothing wrong with them financially at all. They're not risk people. They're not people with shaky income. They just can't get insurance because these people just are not allowed to sell it, and I just don't understand that at all. But yeah, I was thinking about that the other day. I just wondered how much this is affecting y'all, and apparently it is.
Well, I think the property taxes, assuming the vote goes through, I think that's going to help offset the insurance, the higher insurance premiums. But everything is just high. Like it's the interest rates, it's the property taxes, it's the insurance. It's a perfect storm right now.
What I'm afraid will happen is that some of these insurance companies say, well, our clients just got a discount on their taxes, and so they'll feel more able to raise their rates. It's like, since I may have now extra $100 a month because of lower taxes, and insurance companies say, well, we'll take about 80 of that. Thank you very much. It seems like that happens a lot. Anytime there's some sort of subsidy or whatever given to the people, the companies involved will take advantage of that and whatnot. But we haven't really talked about the national market for rates. What is going on there? What do you think is going to go on there?
Well,
If you could tell it to Jerome Powell over at the Fed, but if you know the answers, but I mean...
I wish I had a crystal ball, but I don't. I watch the mortgage market pretty closely. I have a little ticker on my computer, like a stockbroker watching the stock market. I'm watching what the mortgage market's doing all throughout the day. And it's having some wild swings, mostly for not good. But what, from the mortgage gurus that I watch and I listen to, I think the higher interest rates are going to be here for a little bit. I don't think they're going to be super long term. Maybe in the next 12 to 18 months. I'd love to say sooner. I hope for sooner, but I'm preparing for 12 to 18 months when I'm advising clients. But with that said, I think buying, it's still a good time to buy because we can always refinance to a lower rate. So if you find that house, if somebody finds that house of their dreams and they have the ability to purchase, I wouldn't let the rates scare you off. My first house that my husband and I bought, our rate was 8.75%. We had perfect credit. We there was nothing wrong with our credit. But that's just where rates were. So history repeats itself.
Oh yeah, when Ron and I bought our house, it was 9%, and our credit was fine, and it still is. But the economy though is kind of tough, as we all know. Do you getting a lot of business on refinancing and taking cash out?
We haven't. I haven't had that much. I think the hesitation that people have had with that is they don't want to touch their 2% and 3% interest rate that they have.
Right.
Yeah. I can make a case that where it may be a good idea. But it all falls back to discipline. I mean, if you have a lot of credit card debt with credit rates, interest rates that are in the 20% range, and you're making big payments and strapping yourself every month because of those payments, but yet you can free up that equity and pay those credit cards off. You could come out ahead, but the discipline to not rack those credit cards back up.
Well, in our case,
important.
Twice I've taken cash out. Once to help pay for college bills for my kids, and the second time was, oh gosh, about 8 months before COVID, of course, and we had needed some roof repairs and a new AC system, but the rates were such that all it cost me was maybe less than half a point to go from where I was to refinance with the new rate. It was only, like I said, very little, and I figured, well, it's also, interest is tax deductible and whatever else, and it's a lot better than going in and maybe get a short-term loan from the bank or whatever else. Today it'd be a little harder to do that. Of course, rates are high everywhere. I checked into a line of credit locally just because I was thinking about helping my daughter out with something. It's like 12%, and I'm like, holy cow, this ain't right, but this is the way it is.
There's not a one size fits all. So when someone comes to us and that's where the taking the application by phone, where I'm learning. I know that's the way Kandy likes to do her applications is by phone. You learn so much about a person and what their goals are. What I may recommend for one person may be completely opposit for the next because we're listening to what that borrower wants, and we structure things accordingly.
You kind of going back to the amendments, I'm 99% sure they'll all pass because they almost always do. Because usually it's the people that have a vested interest that show up to vote. I bet our voting turnout will be about 8%. Maybe a little higher since there's something on there for Prop 9 for the retired teachers that'll motivate some of them to get out and vote. We're getting a small increase on our monthly allotment, but and it's just interesting. This is kind of a political commentary about our Constitution. Most states handle this through legislative action. In Texas, we have to amend our Constitution to do it. That being said, I'm hoping that the tax cuts won't affect the schools. Now, supposedly they put a big chunk of money into the schools to make up the shortfall or the amount being deducted from the taxes. But, it's somebody whose livelihood really depends on the quality of the schools. I'm just hoping, that we don't have a situation where a couple of years from now we find out this really did, bite us in the end because the schools don't have sufficient funding. Do you and your sister talk about that a lot? Not really. No, you don't want to get into all that. Okay.
No.
You want to talk about, pleasant things. Huh? Okay. But I do have concerns about that. And I think, we're growing, Josh was growing, Godly's growing, and it does put financial pressure on the schools. I just hope that Prop 4 does what it said to do. So we'll see, won't we? But as far as Prop 9, I feel pretty sure that's going to pass because all the retired teachers I know are getting out there and voting and getting their kids to vote and all that. So I feel pretty confident that's going to go pass, and who knows?
It'd be interesting, and I'm not going to necessarily do the research on it, but I'd be interested to know of the properties in Johnson County, how many of them have homestead exemptions versus no, that their investment, because this Prop 4 is, and how it is going to reduce the ISD tax revenue is for homesteads, homestead exemptions only.
So if you have a company that comes to buy like 30 homes to rent, they don't get homestead exemptions? Okay. So it has to be your primary residence, and so if
a homestead exemption. So people, it can be their primary, but if they haven't filed for the homestead exemption, then it's.
When you started talking to me, Kandy, about do you have homestead exemption? Like, yeah, who doesn't? It never even occurred to me that somewhere along the line. Now it's not too late to get it, though, right?
No.
All right. If they just, and it's easy to find. How would somebody find out?
You can go to the county website, Johnson County or Tarrant County website, and Tarrant County Tax Office, something like that.
Yeah.
Johnson County, I think is it JCAD? I believe maybe.
Well, I'm sure there's links on it on the county page,
and they can just go on there, put in their property address. It'll show if they're a homestead or if they're not, and if they're not, they should be able to find a form on the website to complete. And now, I know Tarrant County, you can either mail it in or along with a picture of your driver's license, or you can drop it off. Same thing probably in Johnson County. I'm not sure.
What's nice about Johnson County is they have an email address at the top of the form, and you can scan and email the application for homestead exemption along with your ID. And then you'll get an automated email back so that you sent it to the correct place. And then you can file it that way. I'm not sure of other counties that do it that way, but we did that for my son that way. So I know that Johnson County allows it. But the thing you need to be sure of is that your address on your driver's license matches the property that you're filing the homestead exemption for. So if it doesn't match, it'll end up getting kicked back.
And it's only your primary one. So if you own more than one home, for whatever, you have a vacation home or whatever else you want to say, that doesn't count, right? Or a lake house over at Whitney, yeah. I was thinking more like a pecan plantation down in Granbury or whatever. But if you're not living it full time, it doesn't count. Huh? Well, like I said, I just hope that the money that they take from the schools in this process is more than made up for by the money they say they're putting into the systems. And I've seen the articles, I've seen the math, and it sounds like the school is going to get maybe even a little bit more money than they had before. But let's just talk to us again in 5 years and see if this is still the case.
Right.
So you never know. It must be interesting, though, because you, like you said, you work all over Texas. You work in all sorts of different markets. Travis County and Williamson County down there around the Austin area must be really fascinating because the home values there are ridiculous.
Yeah.
And same thing with Harris County with all their rules. Of course, this is a whole different topic for another time. We're running out of time, but now that the state has made it more difficult for communities to put additional requirements on businesses, and including probably y'all's too, other than what is at the state minimum level, that's still going through the courts. That's something I'm going to be talking about with the city council members, and I have them coming on. Let's see, 7th, 9th, and 14th. We have this here pulling about police station funding and whatever else. We're going to talk all about that. So I have Larry Scott, I have Dan McClendon, and Victoria Johnson on in about 2 weeks. So there you go. Well, we're just about time. So you tell us what we need to know about Camco and about what they need to be doing, about taxes, about mortgages, whatever.
Well, about Camco is, what I'd say to that is we are truly here for the borrower, to do the best job and to give them the best product that we can. The other side that I didn't talk about, though, is for the loan officer. I'm also looking out for the loan officer. So if there's any loan officers that are looking to make a change and they want a true family environment, someone that truly does care, then this is a good place to.
Definitely. Can I say one other thing about Camco? So we are a broker, and what that means is we're not your retail lender. So we're not having to quote one rate that the company's giving us. We've got all these lenders that we're looking at and looking for the lowest rate for that buyer, borrower. So we pull the credit one time. In the beginning, we pull a soft pull, but we pull the credit one time. It's not like if you're going and buying a car at, say, Toyota or wherever. I don't mean Toyota, any dealership.
Any dealership, yeah.
They're pulling your credit 6 and 7 times to find you the lowest interest rate. We don't do that.
That's nice to know, because every time it seems like you pull up on Experian or whatever y'all use, they ding you for it or something like that.
Well, doing a soft pull in the very beginning, you're not getting dinged.
I hope not. Well, what I do like is the fact y'all are local people. I mean, were you born in Burleson, Sammy?
No, but I moved here when I was 12.
Okay, but it's
been a long time.
Yeah, no. But you're a graduate of our schools. You live here in this town. You've got roots in this town. You raise your children in this area. Same with you, Kandy. So we're not talking about out of towners. And I could personally vouch for the service I've gotten twice. When you go back the second time, that tells you a lot, right? And so I could vouch for you're going to get well taken care of. And you're not hard to find at all, and very accessible. And you kind of hold our hand a little bit when we don't understand the details, And as we get hand cramps signing all those papers, here you need to initial this to show that this signature is valid by your initial and whatever. Hopefully that's been cut down a little bit, but
it has.
Okay. Oh, it just kind of.
We do hybrid closing, so most of the I lovingly call junk documents are signed electronically. So you only have to really sign the important stuff at closing.
That's good.
That sped that process up a lot.
It was just kind of funny to me. She'd come out, this big ream of paper, bam. Okay, get ready. I'm in shape. I could do this. Okay. Well, I really appreciate y'all coming here. It was very informative. I like to talk about what goes on in the Burleson business community and real estate and whatnot, what's going on. So I appreciate you coming here. Give us your contact information one more time, please.
Phone number for me is 817-778-4592. Email is Sammy, SAMIE, at camcomtg.com.
And for myself, it's 817-925-2661. The email is Kandy with a K, Kandy, at camcomtg.com. And we appreciate you having us too.
It's quite all right. I'll see you tomorrow at the BNI meeting. And I'm really glad y'all are here doing this business for us, because it's nice to have people in the community that we know and we can trust. And
thank you.
And I appreciate y'all coming on the show and enlightening us what's going on. And so Thursday, what's today? Tuesday? Thursday, I have Debbie Beeman at Promises Community. Next Monday, I'm going to have representatives from Elevate Joshua here to talk about that bond issue that's so important. And y'all go out and vote.
Yes.
Not just for the bond, but if you can, but also for those amendments. Vote yes for 4, vote yes for 9. So there you go. And we'll talk to y'all later.
Thank you.
Sure.